all those things, but it's also more a question of having the right experiences, making the right personal connects. That really is what is important in life. So think about that. And sort of being able to make this work well is not just a question of how much you actually look up Stack Overflow or things like that. It's also a question of trying really hard. So you need to actually make the effort. And computing in general is less about computers as devices and more about computational thinking. Please remember that many people are actually surprised to know this, that computer science actually predates the advent of modern computers. Computer science in some form has existed since the 19th century. People actually go back to Charles Babbage and Ada Lovelace and things like that. And you can actually find even earlier ideas behind that. And so computing as a discipline, as something where you actually apply your mind to actually solving problems, is less about devices and more about computational thinking. And here you have particular types of devices and tools and models and all those things, but ultimately you have to actually make the computing happen based on your insights and your ideas. And yes, there are bugs, there are problems where I don't know, I just can't figure out how to make something work, but then ultimately it's like gardening. Gardening can be a very frustrating experience. You have a lot of wildflowers and weeds and so on, but nonetheless you have to actually grow something and you have to actually make it look good and productive. And ultimately even the most complex algorithms, the most complex tools and devices came out of someone's idea, and someone said, you know, what if I tried something else? What if I actually do something in a different way? And the one tip that is given is, please don't spend too much time on doing scut work. You should actually find a way to automate as much as possible. The best programmers do that. And in fact, there is a very sort of a saying that programmers actually can spend hours automating something that actually takes only 10 minutes to do by yourself. But once they automate it, they will have a benefit. They can actually do it instantly or nearly instantly. So automation in that sense is a very big part of how we work. And then in terms of style of working, you will be confronted with technical and software, whatever challenges where many of this stuff is very poorly documented, right? Because you are at the cutting edge, so the documentation is just not there. If it is very well documented, it must be commonplace. It must be something that people have been extensively using. If you are at the cutting edge, then you're it. You're the person who has to figure out how it works, and you will find that many of the things don't work as expected. They're very poorly described, or there are edge cases and many other things that are not properly known. And here, there is a Dutch expression called gezond, boer en verstand, which actually means good farmer sense. Please think about how a farmer works, right? Farmers are ultimately people who work in the field. Many of them, all over the world, are actually fairly poor people. They're not of great means, right? They're not very wealthy people as a rule. And they often work in very difficult circumstances. They have to put up with all kinds of weather conditions. They have to work in heat and sunshine and all that. And you think about what kind of challenges they face. Now a farmer has to know something about the plants, that's botany. The farmer has to know something about the weather, that's meteorology. The farmer has to know something about the soil, that's soil science. The farmer has to know how to sell crops in the market, that's economics. The farmer has to know so much about so many other things. They may have to know something about insects, entomology, because they need to think about the weeds and the, shall I say, the pests that come to their crop. So a farmer who's very poor, in many cases, who's of limited means and limited education, has to nonetheless put all this together into a working set of knowledge and then grow the crop, right? So they don't really have the time to get a master's degree in entomology or in in meteorology or something else like that. Their job is not to really become an expert in some minute topic. Their job is to grow the crop. And by and large, farmers are very successful, and we as a society owe a debt of thanks to them because the food they grow is the food we eat, right? So ultimately, society runs on its farmers, and farmers, in spite of all these difficulties, by and large, for thousands of years, have been very successful. And that is the sense that the Dutch people say you also should have. When you're working on a project, such as on a hackathon, you often will not have in-depth knowledge of every issue that is relevant to you. But nonetheless, you have to gain enough insight to actually make something happen. And your problem is to actually make progress in a larger sense. You don't have to become a specialist in a minute topic, right? Just like the farmer doesn't become a specialist in weather or anything like that. And in terms of programming for a hackathon, So you cannot simply be, of course, reading about programming and so on, right? So we all have to actually get wet. It's like learning to ride a bicycle or learning to swim. You actually have to do it yourself. Nobody can tell you what it is like. And then your first efforts will actually be quite abnormal or very limited in scope, but that's fine. Don't let that really deter you. And then many times error messages from computers, from the debugger or whatever it may be, it may not, of course, be very informative, and certainly it will also not be welcome, but nonetheless, you have to take it in a positive spirit and move forward. And ultimately, every expert is a beginner who refused to give up. And you can be that. You are on the first step of a very long journey which will make you into a very big expert, provided you stay the course. I think Dr. Rai made some very interesting remarks about how all of you are already winners, but all of you are on the way to becoming a leading expert, provided you don't give up. The only way you can really lose this game is when you give up and quit, right? So if you walk away, that's it, you're done. But if you don't, if you stay the game, if you actually stay and actually focus on making a better version of yourself, you will become really good. So keep that in mind. And then there is a very well-known sort of tongue-in-cheek saying, 2 heads are better than 1, especially when you're both banging them against the keyboard. So if you have a multi-person team, then yes, it makes sense to have 2 people contributing ideas, and both of you should be contributing ideas. And then please use version management, source control, right? So Git and so on, because we want to be able to unwind our mistakes and be able to go back to a previous version. Version control is something that is not optional in professional development. It is actually required, and some form of it should be practiced by you everywhere, including here, now, right? Because without that, you will end up in some complete chaos. You will end up wasting a lot of time. You want to have proper version control from the beginning. And pair programming, how many of you know what that is? Pair programming. Pair programming is where one person is writing the code, the other person is just sitting there critiquing or making constructive suggestions. And that sounds like a bad idea. Why shouldn't both of them be writing code? Because it turns out that when both of them are also discussing and only one person is at the keyboard, but both of them are applying their minds to it, it actually works out reasonably well. In fact, very well in some cases. So code reviews, of course, you should also review your own code, not just let the experts review your code. When you're writing code, you should periodically take the time to step back and review it. Is this actually making sense? Don't wait till the very end to review the code, right? You should actually have a practice, and even in this short period of 36 hours, and when you're completely frustrated and you're, lacking sleep and all that, it can be challenging, but nonetheless, code reviews, once again, are a good practice that you should internalize. It's something that you should actually keep in mind. And then, ultimately, in a team, even in a relatively small team and a small time frame, not everyone has the same skill set. But once again, the wisdom here is that best teams are like rock bands. You know what a rock band is? Someone has a guitar, someone has maybe a drummer or something else, and someone is doing vocals. All of them have different skills and different instruments, but nonetheless, they come together in a very coordinated way, and that makes the best music, right? So in the same way here, when you're a team, not everyone can do the same thing and should do the same thing. You all have very different skills and very different approaches, and that should be respected and accepted. But nonetheless, there should be a complete coordination and understanding so that the outcome is something that you can like. And in terms of problem solving, there is often, of course, more than one way to do it right, but not more than one good way to do it always. Sometimes there are shortcuts that you can take. That shortcut may not actually lead you to the right goal. And please take the time to walk around, go into the sunshine, breathe the fresh air outside. Don't be stuck in this room or whatever room all the time. So you also should realize that having a small break is actually refreshing, and sometimes it causes your mind to click in a particular way. When you're stuck on something, staying at the keyboard, staring at the monitor is not always the best idea. And look up what you have. I think that should be allowed. I think most hackathons do allow you to look up things. So that's fine. And when you're stuck, please have the modicum of self-respect to say, I don't know how to do this currently, but I can figure it out. Don't sort of get into the mode of negativity where I say, I'm absolutely no good, I cannot do any of this. No, you're actually on the way to learning something, and that's quite fine. Maybe you don't know how to do something at the moment, but you will figure it out. And then please keep in mind, especially for preparing outcomes that are relevant to industry, I think many of you not only want to look good to the industry experts who will be judging your hackathon output, but also in general when you join industry, user experience is nearly everything, right? So user experience is something which any product, any realistic real-world product has to worry about. So the user is by definition always right. So you have to just take that as a given, and you have to keep in mind that your user experience, the user experience that you provide, thanks to your app or your service or whatever it may be, should be of the best quality. It's not just about, you know, what the way this is explained is, if you think about an automobile, right? An automobile has an engine and whatever other equipment that goes into it, but that's not the user experience. The user experience is how is the interior, is it plush? Are the seats very comfortable? Is the paint very nice to look at? Is the interior, you know, nicely decorated and all those things? So that's the user experience of owning or operating or being inside an automobile. And similarly, in terms of computing also, the algorithm that you use, the big O complexity, that's the engine. Is that efficient? Is that something that actually makes sense in a computational sense? That may be very good, but if the user experience is not very good, then your app will not be successful. And unfortunately, I can say this, and I'm saying this as a computer scientist myself, so I'm bad-mouthing my own tribe. In a classical computer science education, they emphasize too much of the engine and not enough of the user experience. I don't know any computer science program anywhere in the world where UI design is part of the standard curriculum. So it should be. And of course, not all of it can be taught. Some of it you learn in situations like this. And I want you to keep in mind throughout your career, and certainly in the next day and a half, that your user experience, what user experience you're giving to people who use your product, is a very big part of the success of your work, right? So think about that. And once again, one classical thing that they say is a good UI is like a joke. If you have to explain it, it's not very good, right? So user experience, user interfaces should be very intuitive. And Steve Jobs is very famous, the late Steve Jobs. I think some of you are too young to know who that was, but some of us are not. So Steve Jobs was famously obsessive about this, saying that, you know, my users should not have to read a manual. And that design philosophy is often followed in Macs and iPhones and so on, and that's how you should also be. Accessibility is also a very big thing, because please realize that products are not made only for young people like you, right? So the person who actually uses your app may be a person in their 70s, who is actually from a very different generation, very different cultural background. Even their physical fitness is different. They may not have the same eyesight. Their fingers don't move quite the same way. In fact, I just mentioned iPhones and so on, but many older people, if you talk to your grandparents and so on, they're probably not very happy with their smartphone. They will tell you that, I don't like the way this is designed. I think this is actually very inconvenient and very hard to use, and they're right. And so that's something you also should keep in mind. And then, in terms of coding, you also have to follow ethics, and once again, ethics is something which is increasingly accepted and understood to be a very big part of computing after many mistakes have been made. And there is a very well-known quote, which is widely quoted from one of the older Spider-Man movies from 20 odd years ago: with great power comes great responsibility. And that's also something that you should keep in mind, because coding is not just a casual paradigm. It's actually something you can use to create very big artifacts. So please think about the social impact that you're having. Are you a force for good? Is your code actually going to do something good for society, or are you creating artifacts, or in general, are you creating something that is somehow incorrect, that is harmful, or something else which is inappropriate? So think of yourself also in terms of the impact that you're having on society. Don't think of it as just a casual activity somehow. So you should have that aspect of this also. And transparency, so are you creating something which is actually transparent? Please remember another thing, which is that code is not always maintained by the person who designed it. Now think about not just legacy code, but even something like, if you create an app and you sell that app to a company, but you don't join the company, or you don't stay in the company very long, how many iterations of that app do you think will happen, and how many people will be involved in maintaining it? So transparency is important. It's not something that is completely optional. It's something that you should think about from the beginning. Now, so the point here also is that there is a technical aspect to your coding, the technical skill that you bring to the job and so on, but there's also a moral aspect, an ethical aspect. So please think about yourself as a good digital citizen. You're a citizen of this country. You're, I'm sure, trying to do good things for the country and help your society and so on, but worldwide, you're also a member of a small elite group which is creating digital artifacts, and you should do so in the most ethical and responsible way possible. And then privacy for data and so on is also like oxygen. You should not misuse the access you have. You can actually create apps that misbehave in subtle ways. Sometimes you might get caught and that will not go well for you, but even if you don't, you know, fundamentally, I don't want to be the kind of person who actually does bad things and hopes not to get caught, who thinks he can outsmart other people or outsmart the law or something like that. I want to be a well-behaved person in my own personal conduct, and that's how you should be when you create digital artifacts also. So privacy is also quite important. You don't want to violate people's privacy, gather data illicitly and things like that. And once again, that's not just for this hackathon. It's something that you should keep in mind even in your own work later also. And then when you actually complete, right? So when you complete your product and you ship it, once again, shipping is probably not the right word for this hackathon, but in general, I'm sure you'll be doing this soon enough. They say it's like sending your child to school. And of course, you guys are children yourselves, you probably don't realize this, but those of us who have children, you know what I'm talking about. So it's exciting, it can be a little terrifying. What am I doing? Is this the right thing to do? But then it's something that has to happen. And there is a very well-known saying, this happens in research. It happens when every PhD advisor tells their student, you know, fine, just get it done. Done is better than perfect. Don't, you know, at some point you have to stop being a perfectionist and saying I'll do more and more or better and better. Just finish it, just get it done. So there is a very well-known saying, done is better than perfect, but try to be reasonably good. Not just done in some shabby way, but done reasonably well. So that's something else. And then when you actually complete something, please take pride. Take a moment to, you know, relax and enjoy. And there will be some bug reports and people critiquing you and so on, but that's fine. You still did the best you could. You have actually invested a lot of thought and skill into this. You should be proud and happy just for that. Even if someone else doesn't like it, you should have enough self-confidence and self-respect to say, I did something reasonable. Maybe it didn't go as well as I should have thought. I could have done. Maybe it's not as good as somebody else's effort, but I'll do better. That's fine. Don't be too hard on yourself. And user feedback, once again, they say, is like opening a birthday present. It can be exactly what you wanted or maybe not something that you wanted, but nonetheless, smile and accept it. Because even when someone gives you some bad feedback, that can happen to you, they are sincere. They're not meaning to be critical of you. They're not necessarily trying to hurt you. And the feedback that they give you may be valuable to you, right? So please accept that in a positive spirit. Don't get too hurt by it. Yes, I don't like it when someone says something I don't want to hear, but nonetheless, very often that's something may be useful to me going forward. So somebody who criticizes you is not necessarily your enemy, just like somebody who praises you is not always your friend. So just relax. And then celebrate every launch, celebrate every small success, and even if it's you and your rubber duck. So what is a rubber duck in coding, do you know? Once again, a very famous sort of tongue-in-cheek paradigm. They say that there is something called rubber duck debugging, right? So you have a rubber duck somewhere and you talk to the duck. Of course, that makes you a little crazy possibly, but nonetheless, you try to explain how your code works, you try to debug the code and so on, and explain all of that to the duck. The duck doesn't say anything back, of course, but then explaining it will help you understand what's going on and you will actually do a better job. That's the wisdom. And then, just to wrap up quickly, so take regular breaks. I think I already mentioned that. You often have the best ideas or get the best debugging done away from the keyboard. You don't have to always be in front of the monitor. And then sleep is for the weak. You cannot really necessarily get 8 hours of sleep now, but get some rest, get some naps done, so on. And be open to learning. Every error message, every setback that you have is a lesson, so that's not always unwelcome. You're here to learn, to create, and to have fun. So these are not bad things, and you can have fun more than you learn also, and that may not be a bad thing also. In the fitness of things or in the final analysis, you may actually realize that that was actually what was the most worthwhile aspect of this. And then, thank you. I think you've done, you're on the way to a good start. Your hackathon project may not change the world, but it will probably change you, and that's a good thing. And the best code is written with the heart, debugged with the mind, and shipped with crossed fingers. Yes. And so go forth and create, and if all else fails, you can always take up modern interpretive dance. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, sir, for such an insightful examples with respect to the farmer, the user experience, and of course the rock band and the ethics of the coding, and also for the feedback, how we need to consider. So it was such a great honor to listen from you. Thank you once again, sir. Now I request the dignitaries on the dais to present a small token of memento for our chief guest. Thank you, sir. It is my honor to invite a distinguished leader who has been a guiding force in fostering innovation and academic excellence within our institution. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Uday Kumar Reddy, Dean SOE, to address the gathering.
Well, good morning to all of you, respected dignitaries on the dais. The chief guest of today's program, Dr. Srisha Rao, Professor and Dean IIIT Bangalore, and the ACM's distinguished speaker, Honorable Vice Chancellor, Dr. Amit Bhatt, the Chairperson of Computer Science Engineering, Dr. Girish, we have Associate Dean, the Dean Research, the other deans and directors, the various chairpersons, and the faculty colleagues, dear students, and most importantly, participants from all the various engineering colleges and institutes. Once again, on behalf of School of Engineering at Dayananda Sagar University, I welcome each one of you for this wonderful program. Thank you very much for participating and being here with us. At the outset, I would like to congratulate and thank Dr. Srisha Rao for giving wonderful presentation for this audience. I could see a lot of material, something which I think that is the best takeaway. I don't know how many of you observed each and every statement. It's wonderful if you see that every line there is a lot of meaning in that. Very deeply, if you see that, that itself is a great takeaways for you from this program. So thank you so much for a wonderful presentation. One of that, it was what I could see is the best programmers are always laziest. They can automate everything. So it was very nice, and I could see many other things. Of course, I will not take much of your time because the time is already running out, and I only thank the organizers of this entire hackathon initiated by Dr. Bipin Kumar Rai and his entire team for taking this event in a big way. I think all this journey started in the last 6 months, and then I think even before that, and I think it has been driven, in a way very systematic, and things have taken place, and that is how that we are here. And in fact, it is one of the, I would say, an excellent program that we have organized here in DSU. And going forward, we look a great number of hackathons at the national level hackathons and also the international hackathons. And in fact, we already had one international hackathon in the last semester. But to the greatest extent, probably I think we will involve each one of you, and you can be part of that. And all these events, you know that already there is a, from Government of India, there is a Smart India Hackathon, which is lining up in the month of December, January. I think that could also be a precursor, this event could be a precursor for you to participate in a big way. So like the chief guest mentioned, take all the feedback, participate, have fun in learning. There's a great takeaways from this, absolutely, I'm telling you this. You just have to, whether you win the particular prize or not, but all that important is if you are participating in a team across the diverse backgrounds from various different states of the country, absolutely that itself is a great, the learning for you, which I'm sure this platform will give a lot of learning opportunities. And I'm sure that you will really enjoy the stay here in the next 2 days and give your feedback to our organizers, whatever that you have. And we also have wonderful student volunteers. Please contact them and then see that you are taking best help from them, and then your stay is good. So with this, I thank the management in particular to support this event. And in the beginning, chairperson was mentioning that any event that we conduct, whether it is the conference, whether it's a workshop, whether it's a hackathon, you name anything, we wanted to bring the quality. So that is the vision of the management of DSU, and we want to drive this in a big way. And I'm sure that all of you will really cherish whatever in front of you that you have. So with this small remarks from my side. So once again, thank you. Thanks to all the participants, especially from different institutes across the states who have come here and spending for the next 2 days. So thank you so much. And also I would like to congratulate the department, Dr. Bipin Roy and his team, and the CSE department for taking this initiative. So wish you all the best. Thank you once again.
Thank you, sir. Now, with great anticipation and respect, I now invite Dr. Amit R. Bhatt, Vice Chancellor, DSU, to give presidential address. Please, sir.
Good morning, everyone. So this is, I believe you are just waiting for this program to end so that you can start developing. And I can understand that. So I won't make it any more painful than, it is absolutely necessary. First of all, this program must have taught you a wonderful message given by our chief guest, Dr. Shisha Rao. Thank you very much. At least I learned a lot from his presentation, and I'm sure you must have too. I must thank our Dean, Dr. Uday Reddy, the Chairman of the Department of CSE, Dr. Girisha, faculty coordinators, Dr. Bipin Kumar Rai, and Dr. Meenakshi Malhotra for arranging this wonderful event. I see that there is a great connect between the advent of hackathons and startup culture. Because, you have very similar type of, rush kind of development. There is a very heady feeling. Then there is a depth of, you fell in the depth of despair that, oh, geez, nothing is working out. There is a time to market. Everything is short. Money, time, and sleep. And then, you still do it. I will give you one example. I think about a year ago, I went to one Starbucks cafe in Mumbai. Normally, I don't go there because the coffee is very expensive, but, I had to kill time. So I went there. And what I found was, amazing. There was a buzz all around me. There were young people, discussing ideas, discussing about, things to do. And I believe that we missed while we were growing up, or at least I was growing up. But, this is now the culture of, development, culture of creating something new is out there. So I wish you guys all the very best. Do go out and create. That is one message I would like to give. So once again, thank you very much for coming to DSU. I hope you will learn a lot, you will make friends, and you will go home being a better person than what you were when you came here 12 hours ago. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. It's always a pleasure to hear from you. Now, as we conclude the formal start of our event, I thank everyone for attending this inaugural event and making it a great success. So before we disperse for the breakfast, I request all the faculty members to join on the dais with the dignitaries for a group photo. I request all the deans, faculty members to join on the dais. I request all the participants also to join. Yes.
I request a couple of teams from the participants to join. Teams join quickly.
I request our Vice Chancellor to make this short announcement with respect to the hackathon.
I declare this hackathon open. All the best.
Thank you, sir. I hope all the participants have received the food coupons. Yes, so we'll disperse for the breakfast. Yes, one announcement. Okay, so here is the thing. The hackathon will begin as of now. Yes, the rules, everything will start with, in parallelly, we will go for breakfast also. So what we are doing is, from each team, one participant can first move for the breakfast. As soon as they come, the other second participant can move. So till that time, the hackathon will also begin. Done?
And one more thing, already in this lecture theatre and in lecture theatre 3, we have sitting arrangement. So all the students of lecture 3, I would request, please move to lecture theatre 3, and one team member will go for the breakfast of each team. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. 1 second. I'll just display this. Mine now.
Okay. In this is the presidential and the chief guest people is there in your pen.
Yes, ma'am. That's right.
Can you give me?
Sure, ma'am. 1 second.
Guys, team number 1 is here. Team number 1. Yes. One member, can you please come to the gate? You will be going for breakfast. Yes. Hack to the future. Hack to the future. One member will go for the breakfast. Can you please stand over there? Bad boys. Yes, one member. Please over there. Amateur coders is not here. Dream machine. One member for breakfast. Already went. Okay. Neutralis. Not there. Bite-sized brains. One member for breakfast. Already went. Team number 8. CUCC devs. Bite bandits. Team bite bandits. Not here. Level up. One member for breakfast. We can just wait over here on the gate. SV Muchis, team SV Muchis. One member for breakfast. Hacker Bin, team Hacker Bin. Team Hacker Bin is not here. Innovators, team Innovators. One member for breakfast. Already went. The Chefs. The Chefs. One member for breakfast. Very demure. Team Very demure is not here. Dev Coders. One member for breakfast. Okay. Centaur's crew. Team Nucleus. Team Nucleus. Team number 19. Nah, I would win. Is not here. Cybertron. Team Cybertron. Not here. Electrostorm. Team Electrostorm. Not here. Team No Idea. Not here. Tribe Vibe 3. Team Tribe Vibe 3. One member for breakfast. Okay. Team Nexus. Team Nexus. Not here. Rashmi Warriors. One member for breakfast. Gazelles. Team Gazelles. Not here. Okay. Guys, whichever team members are right now not present and went for breakfast, when they arrive, you can go. One member will come and one member can go.
Clear, na?